I'm going to talk about how I helped Dylan, who's an Olympic weightlifter, fix his knee pain and get back to heavy lifting. So for a bit of context, Dylan came to me initially with knee pain that prevented him from doing any form of bodyweight squat without any pain. And we got him back to doing his snatches, his clean jerks, and his front squat and his back squats under a lot of weight, pain-free. So I'm going to take you through the exact process we used and the exact step-by-step framework. Starting point, as I mentioned, he couldn't do a bodyweight squat pain-free. He had poor hip and foot mobility, and obviously, as a lot of you will know, if you were dealing with knee pain, you're scared of bending your knee because it's painful. Makes sense. So the first thing we did was isometrics. An isometric exercise is just an exercise where you're holding a position for a long period of time. You're not actively moving the joint. The goal here is to reduce pain, get your quads and hamstrings working hard in the case of knee pain, and then also to improve blood flow to the area, retrain your brain, and then that will almost help desensitize the knee or the tendon that's irritated and therefore reduce pain as well. So the first isometric we used with Dylan, 3 times a week, foam roller bridge. Set up in this position, lying on his back, feet flat on the foam roller. I'll just turn the volume off here. Perfect, and I'll just pause it there. So, gentle tuck of his pelvis, so his lower back's flat into the floor. Then he lifted his hips about ½ centimetre off the floor. He kept his heels nice and high on the foam roller, and he simply held this position. His calves are working really hard. You can see them popping out there, and his hamstrings are working really hard as well. He did 3 to 4 sets of a 45 to 60 second hold. Once this double leg variation got easy, then he went on to a single leg variation. So it's not a glute bridge where you're lifting hips really high, keeping your hips nice and low, keeping your heels nice and high. So that was the first isometric that we did. The second one that we did was a banded single leg extension hold. The reason we did this and not a wall sit is because his knee was really irritable, and actually a wall sit was too painful initially. So we set up like this, sat down, band around the bottom of a chair I think he used, and then he simply held this position. So the band provided some resistance, and he did 3 to 4 sets of a 45 second hold at a challenging resistance at about 60 degrees. Then once this was comfortable, then we actually progressed into a wall sit where he started off nice and high on the wall with a small amount of knee bend, and then as he got more comfortable, as he got stronger, he moved down the wall. Again on this, once we'd done the single leg extension hold, we went on to this wall sit, and it was the same sets and reps. 3 to 4 sets of a 45 second hold. Once he was comfortable with this, then we went on to these split stance holds. So a little bit deeper knee bend and getting some other muscles involved as well. Same thing here, 3 to 4 sets of a 45 second hold. We started with body weight, and then we added some weights as well with dumbbells in his hands, very simply. Again, foam roller bridge 3 times a week, and then it was all these quad variations progressing from the single leg extension hold with a band to the wall sit to the, let's call this a split lunge position. The second thing we did, once we introduced some isometrics, we then obviously want to start bending the knee to be able to squat again and move better. The goal was obviously to regain knee flexion, which is bending the knee, strength and confidence in that position, and we're not avoiding pain completely. We're just like training, gradual progressive overload, adding a few more kilos, adding a bit more range of motion each week. Very simple. So to start with, what we did here is we used a short split squat, or just a regular split squat, whatever you want to call it. Set up it in this staggered stance. Initially we just did this body weight, but I'm using some dumbbells here, and all we did was bend this front knee as deep as possible, and he was able to do this because of the isometrics pain-free. So he just did this body weight, 3 sets of 8 reps on each leg, and then he built up to using some dumbbells. So now we're getting the knee to bend, we're teaching it that it's okay to bend, and yeah, very simple. We just added these in with the isometrics. So next thing after that is plyometrics. Plyometrics is just jumping, bounding, changing direction. Why is this important? Well, it improved his patellar tendon, which is the tendon at his knee, strength and capacity. That was the thing that was actually causing the most pain. Why does this matter? Well, because in weightlifting, he's obviously doing a lot of landing and catching with his weightlifting in the bottom of those clean snatches, and also bouncing out the bottom of squats. And also this also improves his performance because speed is a really important aspect of weightlifting and a lot of other sports. So how did we do this? We kind of did 3 different things here. The first thing we did is what's called like a low ceiling squat jump. So I got into a really deep range position of his squat and then just simply bounced around in the bottom. This teaches him to, well, talk to his brain that this position was okay, and a little bit of load because obviously he's bouncing up and down, he's doing some plyos. So we just added these in twice a week, 2 to 3 sets of 15 to 20 reps, very simply. Then what we start to do is add in a bit more speed and a bit of kind of chopping and change direction with the upper body. So all he's doing here is almost just getting into a split lunge position for his jerk in weightlifting and just using the med ball to go the opposite way. This is just teaching his knee to handle kind of unpredictable, let's say not unpredictable because obviously he knows he's going there, but more kind of random loads. Then from there we went into some kind of more traditional plyos, so these are just some hot bounds on the spots, being nice and stiff, getting good rhythm, good timing, and putting some more force through the knee with that speed element. Again, all of these were 2 to 3 times a week for a variety of rep ranges. It doesn't really matter on the rep ranges initially. So isometrics, then bending the knee, then plyometrics. And the final thing we did alongside the plyometrics in combination was testing his sport capacity. So in weightlifting, he needed to be able to do snatching, clean jerks, back squats, and front squats. So the goal here was to build his confidence and his capacity with barbell movements. So what we did start with was some power variations. And if you don't know what these are in weightlifting, these are essentially variations of the snatch and clean jerk where we're not bending the knee as much. So it's like a gradual progression. So you can see here he's doing a power snatch, so he's not going all the way to the bottom of a squat, he's just going halfway. We did some power snatches, power cleans first, and then we started to add the full variations. Another thing we did here is starting to add some overhead variations where we're bending the knee, so some split jerks from these blocks. Sorry, not split jerks, push jerk. So he's just bending the knee a little bit and getting used to getting under that barbell, getting used to doing the movements that he's going to do in his sport. So preparing himself there. Then alongside this, we also just started to retrain his pulls and just basically some variations of the deadlift, just specific for weightlifting. So here we had a snatch pull, we did some clean pulls, and all these were just added into his normal training once I kind of gave him the go-ahead with the plyometrics and the other strength stuff. So all very, very simple, nothing complex. Big focus here that I've talked about in this video, obviously on strength. This isn't everything we did with Dylan, but it was kind of the majority of the strength work we did and the speed work with the plyometrics. Hopefully that was useful. Any questions, let me know. If you want a 10-day knee pain blueprint that you can do some self-tests on your mobility, your strength, and you actually understand how to fix your knee pain, just check out one of the links down below. And if you want to work with me, also just check out one of the links down below.